How many people can truly say that they've found the work they love and get to do it each day? Maybe a few 100,000 people out of billions can truly say this. I'm on a mission to figure out this question myself, learn how others have done it, while also paying the bills along the way, and maybe one day be able to say that I found the work that I love. My name is John Pham. I currently live in Austin, Texas with my wife, Kelly. During the day, I work in strategy and operations for a healthcare tech company. I'm obsessed with learning and growing, particularly with entrepreneurship, business, personal finance, and all things personal development. So let's dig into doing what you love. Work and play, to some extent, have always felt separate. School even splits up work and play. School implied this tedious process because it was preparation for growing up work. It was really kind of like this dilute version of work to gear us up for adult life. By the time kids have to figure out what they want to do, most of them have been misled about being able to love their work. School has trained a lot of children and kids to believe that work is this unpleasant duty. And so I think that carries forward with us as adults as well. We often tie the idea of work with making a living. This can be really limiting to some extent because we're limited by our skills and what someone else is willing to pay for those skills. And these skills and what we do might not necessarily be what we're passionate about. And so, what I've seen a lot is people give up on searching for work that they love or being able to pursue a passion because they don't think that they can make a living with it. What I want to explore is who are those people who have found what they love? How did they find it? And a question I want to challenge us to think about is what if you can not only do what you like, but do what you love and really enjoy it? Where spare time felt wrong because you were always felt drawn towards working on this passion of yours. When I was a tour guide back at OU, one question that we would ask a lot of students is, what do you want to major in? And this is either a terrifying question for some students, or some students would really light up and be really excited. I remember when I would get asked this question, I'd be super nervous about it because it was like, I'm 18 and this question is such a leading question because it's essentially asking, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? And that's such a hard question for a lot of high schoolers, even college students to answer because they really haven't had that much exposure yet. At best, they may have had a couple of internships, maybe a couple of part time jobs, but those don't really teach you all that much. They're so short and you're not really fully plugged into where you would actually be able to determine if this is something that you really love. And you'd have to be so lucky for that to happen. I remember there were some students who would say that they want to be a doctor or a dentist, but how many people end up down these career paths and they keep going and they're really resilient and they've come across all these problems and they've overcome them and even overcome the disdain or dislike of this type of work. And now these people are stuck in a career chosen by a high schooler or a college kid. If you underestimate how much you can love work, you'll stop searching too soon. And this idea has implications on performance as well. If work isn't your favorite thing to do, you'll have terrible problems with procrastination. You'll have to force yourself to work extra, and there's no doubt that your results are going to be inferior to someone who loves putting in the extra hours. So it's really critical that we find work that we're passionate about and that we love, that feels like play to us, but maybe looks like work to other people. And another consideration is to be truly happy. I think you have to find work that you not only enjoy doing, but that you also admire. Finding work you love usually requires a lot of discipline. I think we believe that to do great work, you have to be really disciplined. I think it's the other way around. If you are able to find the work that you really love, then the discipline comes, right? Because it's who you are, like it's what you want to do, it's what drives you and what motivates you. So I think the real challenge is figuring out what is that work. It requires another level of discipline to keep reflecting, to keep digging in, to keep trying new things and exploring until you do find that thing that you really love. So, a couple of thoughts on how do we get closer to that. A good principle that I try to follow is early on, try to seek jobs that let you do many different things that get you a lot of exposure so you can learn a lot faster about what types of work there are and what types of work you really enjoy, the parts of your brain that you really like to exercise. I knew after undergrad that my psychology degree was pretty limiting. One of the things that I did was I got an MBA. I knew I wanted to be in business, and the MBA provided me just a ton of great experience and exposure. I knew that would open up a lot of doors and just opportunities. So after grad school, keeping with this theme of trying different things early on, consulting was really appealing because consulting is also an industry where you work with a lot of different customers and clients on different issues. And so you get a lot of exposure really quickly. And even now, I work in strategy and operations. And in this role, I get a lot of exposure to different business functions and business units. You could almost envision this like developing a T shaped expertise. So the T, the flat part being going really broad early on, developing just broad knowledge. And then once you find what you really love, specializing and then going deeper into that area that you really enjoy. You're probably thinking, John, what I'm actually passionate about, I can't get paid to do. So I think that's also another really fair point that early on it might not be realistic or it might not be possible for you to get paid to do what you love. So I think there's a couple of ways that you can get there. The first way, it's what I'm calling the Shark Tank route. If you've ever watched an episode of Shark Tank, a lot of those entrepreneurs and people who are pitching on the show, they have a full-time job and they came up with this side gig that's totally different than what they do in their full-time job. And it's grown and has grown so much to where now they're looking for support or investments. And the sharks will often ask, are you willing to quit your main job to do this full time? And I think that's one way to do it, right? Where you have a job and you have your skill sets that people are willing to pay you for. And you have these side projects and passions that you're working on and getting better at and honing your craft until it grows to where you're able to flip the switch and then ease off on your main job and then really focus your energy on the job that you really and the work that you really enjoy. I think the second route is you work hard until you have enough money to retire and then you can do what you love. There's pros and cons to both route. I think the Shark Tank route is dangerous because life gets more expensive as you get older. And so it's easy to get stuck. A great steady paycheck can really be a drug. So that's just a pitfall to watch out for as you're going down that route. The one where you work hard until you have enough money to retire, I think the danger here is that by the time you get there and you've retired, right? We've talked about how hard it is and how disciplined you have to be to find work that you love. Let's say you want to be a novelist and you finally get there, you have all the money, and you realize you don't like to write or you don't like the process of writing books, right? So that's another danger as well. One other principle that I try to adhere to is always creating. One way to help you find the work that you love is to always be creating, always be building, always be producing whatever fashion that looks like to you. I think the more that you are active about this and actively pursuing it, you'll get closer to really understanding what you truly love. So that's why I started this podcast called How Do You Do That? My goal with this podcast really is to be sort of this career tour guide. My goal is to help you discover just different types of work, what people are doing, what types of career opportunities there are out there, the frameworks and the way that people think about finding what they love, and really just digging into a number of different opportunities there are out there and what people have done to capture those opportunities and prepare for that. And I'm hoping that this podcast will spark some curiosity and that you'll find and learn some new information about careers and finance and life and how to be healthy and different mental models that you might be able to use in your day to day. And after sparking your curiosity, I'd love to be able to provide resources for you to dig in deeper and lean into that curiosity because I think curiosity begets passion. Passion comes after. When you're curious about something, you start to dig in, you start to want to learn more, and that starts to grow. And I think that adds up over time and that turns into a passion. So I really hope that this podcast will help spark some curiosity for you. We also have to figure out a way to pay the bills, travel, build relationships. And so those are all topics that I want to dig into as well. I'm also on this journey of figuring out what I really love. And so I'm really excited that you've decided to join me on this. And I hope that you'll enjoy these conversations with all these great people as much as I do. Thanks.